What is up, clean freaks and filthy friends alike? Filthy Dan coming at you for another film discussion, and today we're going to be taking a look at, once again, another little gem from the golden age of the slasher period. What we're going to take a look at is one that is quite different from the rest in a lot of behind-the-scenes ways. We're going to be taking a look at Slumber Party Massacre. Slumber Party Massacre stars Michelle Michaels, Robin Still, and Michael Villela, and was directed by Amy Holden Jones and written by Rita Mae Brown. Very interesting to note that this film was handled by women because at this point in horror in general, and fuck it, film making in general, it was relatively unheard of that women would be making a film. So that I thought was really cool. And unfortunately, we still don't get a whole lot of that today. We get it here and there, but it's still kind of a relegated thing, you know. So it tells the story, though, of an escaped killer who stalks a girl and her friends while they're having a sleepover. The name very much suggests that. It's one of those ones cut from the Halloween cloth. I mean, you can tell by the very super original storyline. Killer escapes. Stalks pretty girls. Where have I heard this before? Next thing you know, there's like 10 films that pop up in your mind about it. But no, I think what really helps set this film apart, though, is the weapon of choice that the killer has with the power drill. That was, I don't know, that's just fucking badass weapon to have. I think that it was a very unique weapon to give your killer, and it's one thing that really stands out. I mean, you see it on the poster, and this is also a film that I have heard of a lot before I ever did get around to seeing it. I'd heard about it, seen the posters 100 times, heard that there is a light feminist message, and for a while I was like, I didn't understand the light there, so I'm like, it's going to be a heavy-handed message that they're going to fucking beat you over the head with. But I'm like, fuck it. I got to give this one a chance anyway. Because I've been morbidly curious for years to see it. But I found that the little feminism message in the film was handled not very heavy-handed. It was there, but they didn't drill it into your head, you know, like the killer would have in here. And it's pretty cool how that comes around to show it in a few different ways. And I really started picking up on that watching, I want to say In Search of Darkness, Part 1 was one place where they kind of talked about that a little bit. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's one thing that I think is really cool about this film, really looking back at it. I really did like the score in this film, too, though. It was pretty chilling, pretty menacing. It felt like something you would hear in a straightforward slasher, and that's kind of what this film was. It was initially written as a comedy, believe it or not, and you can kind of see it. But they were told that, no, we're not doing the comedy approach. We're going to make a straightforward slasher. So don't make it a goddamn spoof of the genre. But of course they kept some of the humor, and I find that it works. You get like the fucking dead pizza guy, fucking one girl's eating the pizza off of him. That was fucking hilarious. And you got the girl in the fridge, they keep opening the fridge and she's just like, close the fridge. But I want a beer. And they just do that a couple times. It's like, this movie is so fucking wild. And there's another one, too, where I'm not going to mention exactly which scene it is, but I was expecting, like, knowing that it was supposed to be a comedy in the back of my mind. There was a scene where I was like, oh, fuck. Would they have made a joke there? Or would that joke be a little too risque even for 1982? But yeah, it was a really dirty joke. It's like, well, fuck, if I was making this as a comedy, I would totally do that joke right there. But they played it straightforward on that scene. Of course, the kills in this film are pretty cool for the most part, given the weapon of choice that we get. Um, but the kills and the humor really work well together. It's one of those ones, like, you probably wouldn't even think of it as a comedy if you didn't know that it was written as a comedy going into it. One thing I do also really enjoy in this film is that the characters, and this has nothing to do with the acting. The acting throughout the film was pretty fucking spotty and at best in some places. But overall, I found that most of the characters in this, the leading females, like, I felt that they were pretty real characters. Like, these are real girls that I feel I would have gone to high school with, that you would have gone to high school with. Hell, some of you ladies out there probably were these girls to some degree. I'm not saying that you were, but that's how believable I find the characters. Again, the acting was kind of all over the place. Some of the performances were okay, but some of it was just like, oh, fuck. Like, just some of the reaction shots and shit were like, ugh. But yeah, that's again one of those things. In a cheap slasher film, why are you going to complain about the acting? Why? I don't know. I just do sometimes. It's one of those things. I can live with it. The acting is probably the one thing that I kind of will complain about in this film. I did really enjoy just the small talk banter between the girls, like when they're talking about the baseball game. They're like, "Hey, who won the game? Blah blah blah." Well, it was blah 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 and blah. Like, I don't remember all the details about it, but I love that they just call up the coach and shit, and they're like, "Hey, coach, we're trying to figure out who the hell won." She's like, "Oh well, blah 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 and blah blah blah." It's like, do people really call up their fucking gym teacher? I mean, that's just something interesting. But I don't know, just that small character moments like that I found really enjoyable, and you get the girls just hanging out. And one thing also that I thought was interesting was they have the neighbor. They immediately established that yes, a killer broke out from prison, and you're thinking, okay, well, this guy's gonna be our killer. And then they have the neighbor who's kind of shown to be a little creepy in the opening scene. "Hey, Trish, I'm gonna be looking after you tonight." Yeah. It's like, I was expecting this dude to be way the fuck creepier, but he turned out to be pretty chill. Like, he wasn't as red of a red herring as I was expecting him to be. He was still kind of on the iffy side if you didn't set up the fact that there was an escaped killer. But then again, they could have been going for that whole My Bloody Valentine approach where it's like, oh my god, Harry Warden might have escaped. Or even take the prom night angle, which did something very similar. That perhaps they could have done that approach, but no. They stuck to their guns with, hey, the killer who escaped is the killer that's going to be killing in this film. And it's pretty evident, I find. I thought that Mr. Contant, I believe was his name. I thought he was a pretty weak red herring, but pretty enjoyable character. Thought it was pretty like, what the fuck whenever he shows up at Trish's house. Like, it's like, oh god, this guy's gonna go full creeper mode. But no, he's cordial, chill, normal. I was not really expecting for him to be behaving like that, but I thought that was pretty interesting the way they do it. And the snail hunting, that was just, I don't know. I have no fucking comment on that. I just thought it was really weird. They did get me there though, because I'm like, yeah, sure, the killer's gonna be going around with a power drill. You see the hand with the meat cleaver in the backyard. It's like, oh fuck, he's switched out his weapons. Oh no, it's just Mr. Contant being a fucking weirdo, just chopping up snails. Perhaps if he had survived, he would have had his own little spin-off franchise as a murderer, I'm sure. He probably had a dead body in his house or two. Who's to say? But, yeah, I thought he was a pretty interesting character. An interesting red herring that in other films could have been handled better or much worse. I'd say they did pretty good job on that with as far as the red herring goes. And the killer, Russ Thorne, another really interesting character. Of course, we're kind of given detail of him right off the bat. Like, hey, this guy back in 1969 killed 5 girls and just escaped from prison. It's like, okay, so he's definitely one of those fucking crazy bastards. You get a pretty good dose of that, like, right off the bat as soon as we do get introduced to him. Let's, yeah, he's. You almost think that he's like a knockoff Michael Myers, kind of like Ninja Michael Myers in Final Exam or any of the other little Halloween Friday the 13th clone films that were coming out around this time. But what he does to really break away from that is when he speaks at the end. And it's like the creepiest thing ever because he's about to kill Trish and she's like, please don't. And he totally breaks kayfabe, but he's like, you're very pretty. All of you are. I love you. It takes a lot of love to do something like this. It's like, dude, you are fucking insane. And like just that little element of speaking and coming off totally psychotic like that, in a lot of ways I think elevated Russ from being a very forgettable type slasher. I mean, he's got a fucking power drill, so that already gives him remembrance points. But had he not had that, I think that little bit where he speaks elevated him from totally forgettable, jumped over semi-forgettable to pretty fucking memorable. And again, the weapon had a lot to do with that, but I thought that was pretty cool. Another thing I thought was pretty interesting too about the feminist approach was, of course, whenever he's fighting off the girl and she fucking uses a machete and just fucking whacks his fucking drill, breaks the drill bit right off. Like, that is totally him being emasculated by a woman, and it's like he's now impotent. His big one, if you will, was smashed down. It's like, wow, that's like a erectile dysfunction joke. I love it. But that's one of those things that's like, yeah, that's pretty on the nose. And I was watching it knowing the little feminist message that was slightly weaved into the film, and I know Shannon was watching it too, and like when that part happened, she's like, "Oh, come on, for real? Like that's stupid." I'm like, "Well, it's stupid, yeah. But it's a joke. There's a joke to it. Like a little subtext joke. Like I'm not calling it a joke as in like, oh, haha. It's like, well, there's a sense of humor to it. Like I'm not trying to bash anything on that, but it's like, Anyway, like I thought that was a pretty interesting way to deface the killer, if you will. And the way they fucking kill him too, that was just fucking badass. Like after his drill's broken, he's fucking useless. So it's like, yeah, that's really the drill is a metaphor for his manhood in a lot of ways. So I thought that was a really interesting approach done with that. And there was another character in this film too that was kind of like, I wasn't sure how I felt about this character right off the bat. It was Valerie's little sister, because Valerie was sort of invited to the slumber party, but she heard one of the girls was talking shit, so she's like, no, I don't want to go. I don't feel welcome. I'm not going. So she decides that she's just going to stay home and watch her sister. And I don't know, her sister was a very annoying character, I felt. Like, as the film goes on, we kind of understand her character a little more, and it's like, oh, well, she's not too bad, but on the whole, I thought she was a fucking perfect example of the annoying sibling in a film, and there were just aspects of her character that were like, what the fuck? And there was definitely a little joke that they threw in there with her character that it's like, yeah, they cannot do this joke today. Absolutely could not get away with that one today. But I don't know, that was a character that I was kind of like, man, and it's like, the kid is so fucking annoying, but by the end of the film, it's like, Okay, she's a pretty badass little kid. But I will say that the little sister, Courtney, I believe her name was, definitely inspired a future top 10 video that will be coming out here very soon. So keep y'all's eyes open for that one. But yeah, this film, I know I'm talking about this one a little bit different. Uh, like the story I felt was pretty cut and dry, very wash, rinse, repeat the things that came before it, but inject a little bit of your own identity into it that the filmmakers did. I found on the whole that it was a pretty enjoyable film. Real quick, let's move on to the filthy features. As always, we start with the favorite kill, and my favorite kill in this one is one that did not include the power drill. This is going to be one of the fuckboys, Neil. He was one of the boys who was walking around the house like, oh god, look at them, they're changing, oh god. It's like, yeah, I mean, I get that. I totally get that. But no, he's running over to Valerie's house trying to bang on the door, and Valerie's watching a movie. And again, real quick, this is one of those kills that incorporates not just the kill, but the elements around the kill. A big proponent that you all know I'm a big fan of. You got Valerie watching a scary movie on TV. A person's getting stabbed on the TV. Neil's getting fucking stabbed. And they're cutting back and forth between that. It's like, yeah, this is something that would definitely be very cliche, very corny and predictable by today's standards. But I think that because of the time that this film came out, that I think can elevate it just a little bit, and it just makes it a little better because it's before that was a tropey thing to do. Like this might have been a trope setter as far as that style of kill goes, but just the way it's intercut with the TV kill and his kill, I thought that was pretty cool. Always love a nice little bit of editing there. And moving on to the smutty sightings. Now, we get quite a good bit in here. Like, in the first minute and a half, 2 minutes into the film, we get our main girl, Trish, and it's established after this that she's 18, her character's 18, so it's like, okay, I definitely don't feel bad about this anymore. But, you get her waking up, she takes off her nightgown, and you get a nice shot of her bare chest there. It's like, oh my god, I love this movie already. And we sit on that for a little bit. You think, oh, okay, that's gonna be it. No, that is not it. After this little basketball game they play at gym class, and you get all the girls on the team in the shower, and you get a fuck ton of nudity there. And this is a nice, like, minute and a half shot here, like, just the whole scene. And you get this nice little panning shot from one shower booth to the other. And you even get one where it goes all the way down to her soapy, sudsy ass. It's like, oh my god. And god, that bar of soap, man. That bar of soap was having a really good day. But you also get one more at the titular Slumber party. You get the chicks all changing out of their daytime clothes, working into their sleepy time clothes, and you get it from the fuckboys' point of view, like watching the girls change inside. It's like, oh my god, yes. So we get quite a great bit of smut in here, and that, in fact, I think is one thing that a lot of my friends in the horror community were telling me. Hey, you like that shit, you're gonna like this film for that reason. I finally got around to it, guys, and y'all didn't let me down there, so thank you on that. But yeah, in closing, I found that Slumber Party Massacre was a very enjoyable film to watch. I wasn't sure what to expect, because, I mean, you look at the poster, it's like, yeah, it's really pretty cool poster, but it reminds me of one of the R.L. Stine Fear Street books from the 90s. Like, it had that kind of feel to it, so I wasn't sure exactly what to expect. And, I mean, you see the power drill, so you're like, yeah, that's probably gonna be some cool kills with that. And, like, again, this is a film that I knew about. Like, I was hyper fucking aware of it before I actually got around to watching it. And when I watched it, I was not disappointed. It had me pretty well captivated. I mean, years of being curious and aware of it, you're going to go into it with a certain expectation. I wasn't expecting too much, but I was super fucking curious. It did not disappoint me. I really enjoyed this film. It's one that I definitely want to add to my collection. I watched it on Shudder and Tubi, but I definitely need to get this bad boy on hard copy. It's one that I would say, if you haven't seen it, I'd say it's worth the fucking purchase. Like, if you haven't seen it and you only saw this video of me talking about it, I don't know why I would be the first one you're watching talk about it, but I will say, if you've never seen it and you've only seen this video, definitely forget going to Shudder, forget going to Tubi, just buy this fucker on DVD, dude. Buy it on Blu-ray. It should be in your collection. It's fucking, I mean, it's the part of the slasher golden age. That alone makes it purchase worthy. So definitely go out and buy this fucker. I very rarely tell you to do that. Right now I'm telling you, go buy Slumber Party Massacre. You'll have a lot of fun with it. I certainly did. As always, thank you all for watching. Please be sure to like and share this video, and if you haven't already, be sure to stab the fuck out of that subscribe button. We are working our way up to 200, so definitely stab that button if you haven't already. And if you're feeling extra filthy, go ahead and leave a comment down below. Do you think that Mr. Content was a serial killer in his own right? I think so. Let me know what y'all think, and as always, stay filthy.